Time right now. There's more history than that.
We would like to welcome all of you to our City Council meeting tonight, July 12th, 2017. And we will begin this evening with an invocation by Father Bob from Christ the King Catholic Church, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Isom.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmen and women. As most of you know, this is my last time to pray with you tonight. Good and Holy Father, we come before you to give thanks and to ask your spirit of wisdom upon this City Council, that they continue to be guided in their service of the good people of Cedar City, that they may make wise decisions that impact our people's lives and their futures, decisions for the good of all. This day, give them listening hearts to know the needs of those who come before them. Give them hearts of courage to speak a challenging word when necessary. Give them joyful hearts that the burdens of their responsibilities be light. And guide them, Lord, for they seek to do your will. Look kindly upon me these days of my going forth. These past years you have brought me to green pastures, cared for me with your rod and staff. For those you entrusted me as pastor, I give humble thanks. With gratitude, I also acknowledge the many friends and co-workers and volunteers of this community who strive to build a city of peace. All have been a comfort and an inspiration to me. Finally, I remained profoundly grateful to you for allowing these, our mayor and city council, their staff, our police chief and sheriff, all of whom have made me welcome in this wonderful community. Continue to bless them with your love, Father. They have become dear to me. Amen.
I'd just like to say I thank Father Bob for all the great things he has brought to this community, and it's just absolutely fantastic.
Amen to that. Yep. Let's all join together and pledge allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where's he going? He's headed north.
We will now move on to our agenda order approval. Are there any items that the council would like changed from our published agenda? And if not, can we get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the agenda as published.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to council business. Oh, one thing.
Yeah, I love the new awning.
Yes.
Looks nice.
I know.
We've arrived. Looks great.
We do. I failed to mention this. Do need to excuse Councilman Cousins this evening. He's not going to be able to make it here. And so, yes.
He's drinking one of those berry milkshakes is what he's doing.
I wasn't going to go into.
And I'm not very forgiving of that.
We know.
And welcome you two back. It was so quiet at our last meeting.
So all you have to do is excuse Fred and I.
All right. Are there any other council business? If not, we can move on to staff comments, and we will start, I'm assuming, with Jeremy.
Good evening, council staff. Jeremy Valgardson representing the Employee Advisory Committee tonight. Dale, are you here? You come on up. Dale was nominated for our Employee of the Month for July. Dale was nominated by Wade. This is what Wade had to say about Dale. We'll make it quick because he's got to get back to work, right? Dale's ability to manage multiple seasonal workers in different locations during the spring with multiple sports leagues going on at the same time makes him a valuable member of the Leisure Service Department. Dale's been with the Parks Division as a full-time employee since October of 2013, along with maintaining the sports field excuse me, at the Bicentennial Soccer and Softball Complex, field at the Hills Complex, and Little League Baseball Complex during the year. Dale has many other tasks, such as coordinating with the Sports and Recreation Division and the multiple Little League groups that use the city's facilities. He adjusts his schedule to make sure that the city is providing the best experience to the public for these types of events and does so with a great attitude. He is liked and respected by the crew he supervises as well as his coworkers. So on behalf of the Employee Advisory Committee, I'd like to present him with this certificate and thank him for his commitment to the city.
Got to get back to work. All sorts is going on.
All right. We will now move on with other staff comments. I think. You guys have anything? I know you. Yes.
So just for your information, the well number 6 at Quichapa went down. It was either last Thursday or Friday. There were some problems with the motor. We should have that well back up and working either today or tomorrow. As soon as that well's back up and working, they're going to take well number 3 offline for a little while and lower the bowls a little more. So that'll be down. We haven't had interruptions in service. The water department's done a very good job at managing to shift water assets from one tank to another to maintain sufficient levels to where we can still supply water.
Can you give me some idea of what that thing was in Enoch where they said the forest fire panic caused them to run out of water? What was that about? They went on to water restrictions?
I do not know.
Okay.
Do you know, Mike?
No.
Mike
He's
doesn't.
shaking his head no.
I just think it was this timing. I think it was just their general problems with water
All right.
out there.
Are there any other staff comments? If not, okay, then we will move on with our public agenda with our public comments. And if there is anyone that would like to address the council, now you can come up, just state your name so we have it for the record.
My name is Kimball Weaver, and I have a couple comments that deal with parks and recreation. I love to watch ball games, and I noticed the other day when I was over on the ballpark next to the creek that some boys, their coach sent them along the fence to pee, and 2 of the boys minded the coach, but the other one leaned and went away, and his poor mother was embarrassed. And so my comment is I think in some instances we need more facilities for younger boys that don't know what to do when they have to go to the bathroom. That's the first.
Oddly enough, a few weeks ago, that's the very topic I addressed. I wondered why the trees were so green.
And the other one is that I played in this ballpark. It's the oldest one we have across the creek, the big one. And most of our scoreboards are working, but that particular one is not. And I wondered if someone could repair it or do what they need to and maybe follow up a little closer, because it's hard to go to a ball game and not know what the score is, the inning, the strikes and balls and so on. So simply put, those are my 2 comments, but I was listening to my daughter-in-law, who spends a lot of times, Jennifer Weaver, And I told her, and she says, I can make a recommendation, but you need to go to city council. They'll pay more attention to you than I can go and make my comments. So that's why I'm here, and I'm trying to be a good citizen by making my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was a little glad that board was broken because your grandson's team was just really creaming my grandson's team.
Sorry,
But it does take the fun right out of the game when you don't know what the score is. It's like you're just sitting there, you know.
Mayor and Council, Brian Dangerfield, Director of Leisure Services. To address those two comments in our master plan, we did identify having some restrooms on the backside of the Little League. The way they're configured, it makes it really difficult to go and find restrooms. There's no excuse, they're open, but it is a long way. And then as far as the scoreboards are concerned, I was out there today talking to Dale, and someone said someone came into the enclosures behind home plate and it ripped out it vandalized it. So we're trying to do the handheld scoreboards where the umpire can do it behind home plate, and we won't need that thing. So it's just going to take some money to do that. But I agree. I mean, having the scoreboards up and running, especially when we have our all-star tournament going on, needs to take place.
Even if it's just a kid with one of those flip boards or something, you know.
Yeah, we have them on all the fields. I mean, we just need to get them up and running. It's just expensive to do that. We're getting 2 new ones installed at Bicentennial.
Would it be possible to get a porta potty out there? I guess the season's over now, but until a permanent facility, maybe just a outhouse over on that.
Yeah, we've talked to the Little League. We would hope that they would participate with us. They use our facilities, and if there's a need, but I mean, we could always do that if that's something we'd want to have budget for. Okay.
Thanks.
My name is Dorian Page. I live on 1100 West. And I come to you, Mayor and councilmen and women, because we're a little bit confused about some of the zoning ordinances and how they're interpreted by different entities around the city. There are 2 homes that have been sold in our subdivision in the last month or 2. And we've talked to the realtors, and we've informed them this is R1 housing and not multiple families. And they both informed us that they would be putting students in these homes, which is not single family dwellings. And we talked to some of the staff, and there's some confusion about whether it's all governed by parking facilities or whether it's can have 3 different families in there that are not related in the R1 zone. So we've been really confused by talking to people, and we would seek counsel from you on how we should proceed to make sure that this doesn't happen before it's too late and we have to file a nuisance complaint with the city.
Trevor, can you bring up the map about 1100 west and 600 south?
400 south. And while he's doing that, I'm sure you've all read this, but it's so clear to me that the R1 zoning was for a purpose of having families with nice yards and nice traffic flows, and not to be student rental housing. For example, boarding and lodging houses, 2-family dwellings, triplexes, apartment houses, and other multiple dwellings representative of higher density residential are strictly prohibited. So, I mean, to us, it seemed very clear as we read the statute that this would not be available for student housing. And we observed one of the realtors working with students actually signing contracts for the fall. And we would like to have that probably stop before it gets to that point where they actually move in and have to have them evicted. If you would counsel us on how we proceed, because we've told the realtors, and they've all told us, oh, we can get around R1 and put students in there.
I'd be willing to sit down with you and any other neighbors that are upset about this, and we can kind of figure out a game plan.
Okay.
One thing that we need to know going into this, though, is the law's reactive, right? We
Right.
clear violation, and then we can act. But we can at least set up how we're going to approach this if that occurs.
Okay. I'm just thinking that the realtors and new owners, it would be to their advantage to know this as soon as they possibly can, that the city is going to back their zone ordinance and that there will be an action if they proceed.
Yeah.
It would help them, I think.
Yeah. So do you know who the realtor is or the company?
The realtors, do you know who the? Jennifer Davis.
Okay.
Kurt Christensen is the new owner of one of the homes, but we can find all that information and get it to you.
Yeah, that'd be
Should I meet with you? Can I make an appointment then?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Any other council? Because we would not like to see that happen and have to be reactive totally and have to have it done.
These houses are on a cul-de-sac street, are they not?
One is a cul-de-sac. It's 1,000 is on a cul-de-sac.
Here's your pointer right there.
Okay, where's 1,000?
Right there. He's got the hand on it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 1,000 right here. And the home that just sold is this one right here. Lee Wood lives right there, and they're going to convert. That's the one we observed people actually making contracts with students and transferring money to occupy that house. And the other one is Jerry Cripps's home, or the Cripps home. This is an empty lot here, but this is the home that has also been purchased, and the realtor told us that they would be moving students in there. This is my house right here.
Are there circumstances that these realtors are banking on a loophole of some sort that lets them put students in there? What sort of workaround are they trying to get to, would you think?
I wouldn't know unless I talk to them about it.
Yeah.
The other issue is going to be is technically the realtor's not in violation. It's who's purchasing the
It's
property.
the new owners.
But I can at least talk to the realtor and give them a heads up so they're relaying that to their clients.
What would be the city's action once they did create the violation? Would they be told to evict the people, or what would
There'd be a letter sent out to them, notice that they're in violation of city ordinance, and giving them 30 days to get into compliance. And if they didn't, then
So there's not really a parking requirement on this, because this does not presuppose that it's to be rented, right? You can't say, well, you don't have enough parking, you can't do it. It should just be you're renting to multiple
families.
Here's what we ran into in the past, and I don't know what the deal is here because this is new to me. You could get a family that rents the house next to you that has 15 people in the family and 12 cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not a parking issue.
So you could get a rental to some college students that move in next to you that have 5 students and 5 cars.
Yeah.
Or 2 related families. I mean, that's going to be kind of awkward sometimes when it's family that's living with me, but there's 2 separate families.
So the city has a definition of family in our ordinance, and in single family zones, we say it's for single families, and we've tried to define what constitutes a family. The definition of family that we've adopted, and the definition of the family in the Fair Housing Act, which is a federal statute, and Utah has an equivalent fair housing provision, sometimes don't mesh. And that's part of the problem we've had with similar situations in the past. Again, I don't know the particulars of this situation. That's just been some of the things we've ran into before.
Okay.
What's the city's definition of a family?
Family member and up to 4 unrelated.
Okay.
And it talks about by blood or birth or adoption or foster kids or.
In the ordinance, it says that family means one or more persons related by blood, marriage, adoption, or guardianship, or a group of not more than 4 unrelated persons living together as a single nonprofit housing unit, together with incidental domestic staff relating to mostly handicapped persons.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's some Fair Housing Act complications that could come into play.
What I was worried about is these poor students, if they're being issued contracts and paying money and they move in and they're going to school, and by the time school starts and they have to move out, poor students. We have not to treat them that way.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank
I'll
you.
make an appointment with you. Thank you.
All right.
Go ahead. My name is Joe Hunt, and I was here last week for the subdivision. And so what I did is I walked around West Mountain View Drive in the south end of town here on that new subdivision. You want to change from R2 to R3. So I walked around all the neighbors. I was amazed at how many neighbors knew nothing about it. I thought they were supposed to send letters out to notify everybody. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If I have to, I'll run a petition. And I'll go ahead and start getting signatures against that R2 change for that area if that's what we have to do. I just wanted to let you know, to me, it would have been nice if they would have let everyone know, especially on Pine Cone and on the other streets in that adjoining neighborhood. And I did walk the streets and I did knock on doors and I talked to people and I asked some of them to come here today. I can't see why we're not playing by fair rules. At least I'd like to have an explanation for that. If not, I'd like you to at least cancel any type of a decision till we can come up with a better idea on that subdivision. Change that R2. I think you just need to leave it at R2.
So, sir, if I could.
Understand what I'm talking about?
I do. So just so you're aware, there is the notice, or sorry, the ordinance does require the notice be sent out.
Then you would think that they would have all got them. At least there would have been a better number of people that did get them, because I walked door to door and asked them if they got them and they said no.
Within how many feet?
And 300.
That's
300 feet is the deal. I'm talking about just ones on Mountain View Drive. There were people on Mountain View Drive didn't get it. Then I went down on that's not Pine Cone. I went on the next one down, next one to the west. And I walked up that street and there were people there that didn't even get it. And they are within inside the 300 feet.
So one of the requirements to get to the city council is that they've sent those notices out. I will double check with the engineers department to make sure that was done.
Yeah, I would like to have a better tally. So what I'll do is I'll start getting signatures. I'll walk it, get signatures of showed you who didn't get it. If that's what we got to do, but at least we want those facts straight. Those people should have a right to have an opinion, should have a right to have a say. They live there instead of just making a vote on something that they're not sure of.
No.
Okay. So it's not,
And this is
we won't vote on it tonight. It's
Nothing's
not on the
happening
agenda.
with this tonight.
I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I will also add that we recently, because we want people to know about these things, changed the law that they get a week's notice rather than the previous 3 days. So it's something we firmly believe in. Something went wrong somewhere on that. That should have been done.
I just can't figure out how come there's so many.
Yeah.
That's the thing that bothered me, and I just wanted to know.
What do they look like?
So the notice, what the developer would do is the developer would go to the county. He would pull up who the registered owner is of all those lots within the 300 feet. So there could be a chance that some of these people are renting or they're not the recorded owner, and so that notice wouldn't have gone to them.
What do they look like? Are they something that one would dispose of without even looking at?
Depends on who you are. It's a single sheet and it just says there's a proposed zone change.
Envelope?
Yeah. It's just like a letter you get in the mail. And it tells you there's a proposed zone change that you might be interested in. It gives you contact information on who to
as
ask
a return
questions.
address typically? Is it the developer?
I can't remember who the return address is. They either send them certified mail or hand deliver them.
They did send out a certified.
Will you come
About a zone change.
if you're going to?
They sent a certified out.
And will you come up and state your name just so we have stuff for the record?
Okay, my name is Bonnie Jorgensen, and I'm on 1150 West. I'm sorry, I'm on Mountain View Drive, somewhere over there. They did send out a certifieds a long time ago saying that they were going to do duplexes. And then they snuck the zone change in after that.
And it was a certified
And they
letter?
never sent another one out saying they were changing that.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll look into it. Tyler will look into it and see what is on record up in the,
And we want an extension of time, I think, is what we're asking for right now. But I know you can't give me that, but we would.
if you're going to talk, will you come up and talk into the microphone?
The reason I'm here is because I kind of, Joseph Hunt,
Thank you.
I wanted to maybe ask for an extension because of these things. So maybe you need to check into it. And if it is what I'm saying it is, then an extension would be in order.
No matter what, it's not going to be voted on tonight. So
But
by
I don't
next
even want
week,
to vote it on
the
next week
council
if
will.
we don't have time for it.
Oh,
Next
yeah,
week's
we
a
still
work
have
meeting.
2 more weeks
It'll be
before
2 more,
anything,
yeah.
before it even comes back before the city council.
Would you mind, Mr. Hunt, just writing down your contact info for Tyler here so we can get back to you? Thank you.
I just happen to be here working on my home, but I'm from Ely.
Yes.
Just down the bottom and I'll give it to Tyler.
Okay. Yes.
Hi, I'm Scott Phillips, and I just wanted to address the council and the mayor and to thank publicly our Public Works Department and our public safety folks for the way they handled the July Jamboree this last weekend. There was a lot of people on the main street, a lot, and it was a great event. And I went down Sunday morning, and I was just thrilled to see how clean everything was and how well it was handled. So I just wanted to thank them and thank the Rotarians for that. It's just simply, it's a big event, and I think when good things happen, we need to acknowledge those as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
So do I surmise correctly that the July Jamboree and the Renaissance Fair we were able to get them off the same weekend this time?
The July Jamboree already happened,
Yeah,
and the
and
other
then-
one, if you look at Main
just
Street,
starting.
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, we got that one going on right now.
Just hoping those are all on private property, yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that was a concern last year, and so I'm glad we were able to get those separated.
Jeremiah Davis. I'd just like to thank the police department for putting the car up there on Cove Drive. It really slowed down quite a few people. Normally, I'm just about getting pushed down the hill, and with the cop car up there, it slowed quite a few people down up there by the temple. So thank you.
all right. Are there any other public comments? If not, we will move into our recycling presentation by Stephen.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a time limit, I assume, some type of time limit.
Yeah.
Don't
you didn't like
don't bore us to death and run too long.
5-ish minutes,
To give I'll try to
but
give.
you still have to state your name.
Oh, Stephen Gwynn. I am here. Let's see. I am just finished an intergovernmental internship, cooperative graduate internship. And during that, I worked for the Forest Service, the Dixie National Forest, as their sustainability operations coordinator. That was a mouthful. So we, a few years ago, as part of that, I spent some time with the Southern Utah Recycling Coalition and counseling with them and working with them and their efforts. And I came to a meeting where you were present, Mayor. We had some questions about recycling. And after the meeting, I was talking with a couple of city councilmen who expressed concern about whether or not they really knew what their constituents wanted in regards to recycling. At that time, they seemed fairly confident. They thought that a large portion, a vast majority of their constituents would not support any kind of recycling, didn't like recycling, were anti-recycling. I'm not quoting them. I'm saying my interpretation of what they said, but they didn't know for sure. And they kind of expressed a desire to know for sure. And so as part of my graduate internship and discussed it with my supervisor, and I was allowed to pursue a countywide survey to find out what people really thought about recycling, particularly the question of curbside recycling at their home. We went to a lot of, well, the first thing we did was we called a professional company and found out that $50,000 to $70,000 was outside of our budget. So having some experience running surveys of a political nature, I decided to take it on myself with approval. And we went to a lot of trouble to try to create a very unbiased survey of likely voters here in Iron County. Councilwoman Hartley came to our meeting where we had a lot of local leaders and other community leaders who talked with us about how they felt our original draft. Were these questions good? Were they not? We went to a lot of other effort and trouble to make sure that it was a good, solid survey, that it wasn't leaning one way or the other. And I'm simply here tonight not to vie for one way or the other, but to present the findings so that you'll have this information that you can use in your future decision making on this subject. So I'm gonna, hopefully this little thing works right here. I'm gonna skip a lot of the methodology and other things. You're welcome to ask me questions on methodology or other stuff, and I'm gonna, in order to keep it short, just go through some of the highlights. We did one of our efforts was we put it out as a public works survey. We didn't want people seeing it, oh, here's a recycling survey, I don't care, I throw it in the trash. We wanted to hear from people whether they liked recycling or didn't. We wanted them. So we added questions that you can ask me about there at the end of the report. I can provide a copy of the report on other public works matters as well. This was basically preliminarily to just see who knows what we currently have. And as you can see, and these numbers were extrapolated from those stating that they lived in Cedar City. We did survey the whole county, but I've limited this to Cedar City. And as you can see, quite a large majority are aware of the centrally located bins. Only a few say they didn't know or there isn't anything around here. A few actually thought there were some things that we don't have: hazardous household waste recycling, glass recycling. But for the most part, everybody is aware of the current recycling bins, which I think speaks to the success of the current effort. So we asked first a general question. In general, do you approve or disapprove of recycling? And as you can see, we split it up to those people who are very enthusiastic, very negative on it, or a little bit enthusiastic, a little negative on it. And we found that between the I always approve, I'm very enthusiastic, or I usually approve, 89% of, actually 89% of likely voters. We pursued likely voters and went to some length to make sure that we were getting likely local voters. So 89% of likely local voters approve of recycling in general. Of course, that doesn't necessarily answer the questions of logistics. Is it curbside recycling? Is it central bins? Is it whatever? So we asked the next question: would you like your local government to provide curbside recycling pickup at your home? And we knew that people would have circumstantially related answers. So we had three responses: yes under certain circumstances, or no. And as you can see, there was a majority, just over 50%, that were just simply yes. Almost a third, 27.8, no. And then a pretty large percent, 22%, were yes under certain circumstances. So we went back and we had, this question had a comment section. We wanted people to tell us the circumstance, and we counted it up, and about 70%, actually in Cedar City, I think it was 75% of those yes under certain circumstances were related to financial matters. Yes, if it doesn't cost too much. Is so many, almost every, well, 3/4 brought up financial, brought up cost in some way. And we anticipated that. So our other detailed question, this just kind of gets you between the yes and the yes in certain circumstances. It shows you visually the majority that you have of 72% who, at least under some circumstances, say yes. And then we asked them how much extra. And we phrased this question to not sound, actually we kind of phrased it to sound a little negative. If your local government were to just enact curbside recycling without talking to you, how much extra would you be willing to pay for this service? As you can see, we had a lot of different price points, and a lot of different responses. But we looked for the price point that we would get a majority of support at. At what point do we have a majority of support? Is it 0? Is it 2? Is it 10? Where is it? And it turned out to be around $4 per month. So at $4 per month or more, we had 55% of our likely local voters were willing to pay $4 or more per month to have curbside recycling in their home. Of course, I had some bad information, and it was after the survey was over that I had talked with Neil Schwindeman many times, but it wasn't until after the survey was over that Neil corrected the information I had and said Washington County's recycling program is just under $3 per month. Had I known that, I would have put $3 in as a response category so that we could compare almost exactly to Washington County. Now, of course, Washington County isn't Cedar City, but it's the closest comparison that we have. Let's see if those are demographic data. So I don't have a chart for this, but if we were to add the $2 to the approval side, we would see that 77%. I believe the $2, if we back up, the $2 has 12.8%. So if we were to include $2 and say, well, how many people would approve of curbside recycling if the cost were $2 or more per month, we would end up with 67.8% approval rating at $2 or more per month. Now, can we split the difference exactly and say, well, if we went to $3 per month like Washington County, would we get an exact split halfway between 55% and 67.8%? No, we can't say that for sure. We'd have to run another survey, but it seems very clear that as the price goes down, the support for it goes up. And it seems fairly clear that we're in the price range, $2, $4 in that area where we're hitting a majority level of support, where similar programs are operating. Like I said, Washington County, they have a transfer station. They have a recycling company down there. We lost ours. We used to have one here, but we lost it. So our infrastructure is not quite the same. Could we do it for a reasonable amount? I would take some more investigation. I'm just here to present these numbers to you guys. I should say, though, that what is very clear is that if in some point in the past, our councilmen's and other people's thoughts, which were actually my thoughts as well, I really thought that a vast majority just disapproved of recycling here. But that turned out not to be the case. In fact, almost the opposite. Almost 90% approve of recycling. But I was really quite impressed with the perceptiveness of our people here in Iron County. I mean, they know what counts and what doesn't count. And for them to say, yes, we like it, we know it, we think it's a good thing, but don't try to overcharge us for it. They're very perceptive and very smart and very astute. And I think it shows very clearly how smart they are when they say, this is about where the price needs to be, and it comes so close to where Washington County is. And I don't think a lot of people around here know exactly what the price of Washington County is. I didn't ask them that question, so I can't say for sure. But that's what I want to leave you with is that if that stereotype was ever true, it's changed. And I guess times have changed over the last decade, and a lot of opinions of recycling and other such things have changed. And this is what it is right now, with huge majorities in favor of, and that support dropping as the price gets higher and higher, and increasing as the price gets lower and lower. Questions? I have sent one or two people copies of the full report, which includes all of the questions, all of the answers, the extra questions. I am going to email, if I can get everybody's email address, I will email a copy to everyone on the council and anybody else who wants one. Is there any other questions? Yeah. I can do that. There is a website. It's my personal website, and I'm happy to let me see if I can remember it. It's a Wix website.
Or will you just email a copy of it to Tom?
I'll email it to you. You just write down anybody who wants it. I'm actually gonna post it wherever I can because I know a lot of people would be curious to know. A lot of people have asked me. Any other questions about survey, construction, anything like that? You can read all about methodology and how much trouble we went to try to get a good, solid, unbiased survey if you want to in the email.
Yes, the full reports. Good, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Then we will move on from our public agenda and move to our business agenda with our public portion. There we go. With the consent agenda, item number 1, approval of minutes
Now,
dated.
Mayor, be sure you read these with feeling.
Oh yeah, we're getting to like the most exciting.
Emote.
I just have to do that on like the
We
like
could have
three.
Mr. Phillips come up and read it with more emotion if you're unable to muster it. Because we're talking a new truck.
I mean, do you want? I will let you read those items. So approval
I'm
of
not
minutes
worthy.
dated June 21st and 28th, 2017. Approval of bills dated July 7th and 10th, 2017. This one, it's your
Approval of bid from Rush Truck Center in the amount of $108,472.88 for an international 550 horsepower transport truck. I'm getting choked up for the street department.
Well done.
yes. All right.
Has he passed the
Yeah, we're still going. You're not done yet.
Approval of a bid in the amount of $65,800 from Wheeler Machinery for a Trail King 55-ton lowboy equipment transport trailer for the storm drain department.
Would you like? You can keep. I mean, you keep going with our last two.
Another
We
one?
can just have you go out
Oh.
through all the public works.
Approval of bid from, well, listen, this isn't as exciting, a blanket tree trimming.
Yeah, exactly.
Approval of bid from Professional Tree Services, Inc. for the blanket tree trimming contract fiscal year 2018. And approval of proposal in the amount of $44,660 and contract with Infinity Corrosion Group for consultant services for the Quichapa South Line Cathodic Protection Project.
Easy for you to say.
Wow.
Maybe
People got
cathodic.
up and left when they.
So that is the most emotion we have ever. I mean, that was truly touching. All right.
It's a system of corrosion control that we use on our water transmission lines. If you want to know more about it,
Like a cathode
please
in your
contact
swamp
Jonathan
cooler.
Stathis.
He talked about it when he presented this item a
Tom,
couple times
You ever
ago.
do those things in your swamp coolers, those little cathode things?
Yeah,
It's an ion exchange deal.
All right. So with this, are there questions, comments? If not, can I get a
Motion to approve.
Second.
okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to the action agenda. Public hearing to consider approval of an ordinance for a zone change from residential agriculture RA to high density residential R-3-M on property located at 100 North Amy Ave.
I think you're on, Bob.
Stayed all this time, Mr. Platt. We want to hear your voice.
Thank you. My name is Bob Platt, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is a property up on Amy Avenue. This property was rezoned last year to R3M. This is the existing old Southwest Center building property. It's currently zoned RA. It's master planned to be zoned R3M, and that's what this request is.
Perfect. Does the council have any questions? Okay, then we will open our public hearing. If there is anyone that would like to address the council, sign up. This is a real quiet public hearing compared to our last few. Okay, we will close the public hearing. And we will,
Move to approve the zone change. Second.
okay, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you. Consider bids for the Westview Drive Phase 2 reconstruction project. Who wants to talk about that?
I could introduce it if you want. I'm Trevor McDonald, not Kate Wareham, City Engineering Department. We bid out mostly an asphalt project. Sorry, I've got a sore throat and allergies. So, the Westview Drive Phase 2 project is mostly an asphalt paving project. Bids came in. The low bidder is Precision Pipeline. It was at the recommendation of the City Engineering Department to go to the second low bidder, Mel Clark. And we can entertain comments and questions from there.
Yes.
Well, I'm Landon Floyd with Precision Pipeline. I'm the president. But good evening, council, mayor. I'm sure you guys got the email from Kit Wareham on his comments on our quality of work, I guess, in the past. It was a devastating blow for us. We've never quite had anything like that happen to us. So we would love to do this project for you guys. Because our reputation is everything to us. And I got a tremendous amount of respect for Kit and his staff, for Trevor, as a person, as the engineer for our city. Like I said, this is the first time that we've heard about this, of any issues we've ever had. Kit never mentioned any of the problems. The problems were all punch list item or warranty items that we got taken care of. We jumped right on them. It was nothing, you got issues during a project, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. So that's why I said it was kind of shocking to go back 6 years and to see, some of the issues that he mentioned that were fixed. All of our projects have always been on time, on budget, with no complaints. I don't think I've had any complaints from the city that I know of, through the council. So I'd like to go through those items if you guys want to, if you're interested on the email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was wondering if it's I just wish Kit was
I do too.
here as well.
I do too. I wish Kit was here. I could kind of clear the water a little bit.
Yeah, Kit has the background, so that's
Exactly. And I never had the opportunity to talk to Kit about this.
Do we want to defer this then until Kit is back? I don't want to postpone starting the project.
So
that is Kit's biggest worry is, we're knowing that it's a paving project and we're already well into the construction season. We don't want to push up against the cold weather and the wet.
If the council wants to postpone it, please just postpone it till next week. We'll advertise a special action meeting and vote on it next week.
Terry,
That's
did you
okay
go out with
guys.
Jeff this morning?
no. I talked to him last night.
Was he of the same opinion as Kit?
Yeah, he felt relatively strong about it. But my suggestion today, I felt like maybe we should table it until Kit gets back. If we can have an action meeting next week, would that delay the project too much? I'm not sure.
So the project, according to contract documents, it's a 90-day project from start to finish. What you got to understand is after the council approves any of our projects, whether it's this one or another one, there's about a 10-day window in there where we send the contract documents over to the generals and they have a chance to check them out and sign them. After that, there's another 10-day window for them to get their bonds and insurance and everything in place. And then there's a notice to proceed. So before the notice to proceed, after that, they got 90 days. Before that, there's about 20 days built in there to get all the paperwork in place, essentially, and the bonds and everything else.
May I ask what Jeff? What Jeff
I don't
was?
know that it would be my place to reveal his comments and whatnot. I think that would need to come from Jeff.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable with trying to convey our conversation or whatnot. So
I think no matter what, it would be beneficial when Kit returns
Mhm.
for you guys, Kit, maybe Jeff,
Oh.
to all sit down around the
Absolutely.
table and
Absolutely.
talk, because some of this is trying
Well,
to piece together.
I'm kind of on the fence on this because if some of these things were happening in 2011 and 14, then why did we continue to award bids later on? I guess what 4 of these are 2016s.
Well, the number 6 is it's Coal Creek gravel. I got a partner in that pit, and that's not really relative to workmanship.
Right.
We cleared off some brush out there. I thought I was being a good neighbor, and I got in trouble, I guess, a little bit with Kit.
What about this part that you committed to Kit that you would put in the fence and you did not?
The fence is in.
Okay.
This was probably
All right.
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
To a month ago.
So
So the fence is
the rest of
in
these
as
have
of,
The fence is in, yes.
as of in like yesterday or today.
Yesterday. I started on it yesterday.
So the rest, 3 of these happened just last year. So that may be why it has come up at this point.
And also item 3 and item 4 were private
Yeah,
projects.
those are private
Those
projects.
weren't city
Yeah,
projects.
but we get the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Right,
we do.
we get it in the end.
We do, but I'm just saying they were hired by a private contractor, not the city didn't
Okay.
hire
Right.
them
Okay.
to do the work.
We've done 21 projects since 2011 when he went back. That's how many projects we've done that have been no complaint, no problems.
The other question I have is how does he ever, if there's about a $7,000 difference in the 2 bids, but how does he ever come back and redeem himself in the future? How does that ever happen again? If we say you can't ever work for us again, so he has no way to ever show that he's.
I don't know if anyone's saying
Well,
that.
I know that, but let's say there's another thing in 3 months and there's bids.
So
nothing has changed. He's had no way to.
I think the meeting that we've got scheduled next week, that's probably where they can maybe come to an agreement what Kit would like to see. And
in a more formalized system like the federal bid system, there's a whole set of rules and regulations on how you get, for lack of a better term, in the doghouse and how you get out of the doghouse. We're not quite as sophisticated as far as our terms as the federal government is. So we would prefer to do things by sitting and talking with our contractors and trying to forge a way forward that way.
Okay, let's see, that could happen. That's something that should be able to happen now because nothing will change when the next job comes up. We'll have no new track record or anything. All we can have is his assurance that he'll focus and make sure the compaction is right. He could do that with this project as well as he could do one 3 months down the road.
Well, I would promise you one thing. This one would be, well, if Kit would tell us the specific areas that maybe he's concerned about, we could focus on those areas.
Yeah.
I mean, our reputation's everything.
Yeah.
We live in this town, we employ people in this town, and we want to work in this town. So, those issues will be fixed.
Yeah, and that's just the thing. I don't see how a guy redeems himself on a deal like this. He has no opportunity if we say you're out on this one.
when do you start? I agree.
So I'm for tabling it for a week if that will not mess things up too much. Will Kit be back?
Yeah, Kit will be back next week. The whole point is to table it for as short as period as you can because we're already running with those schedules, those timelines. We're already running into late October, early November.
Will he be back before next Wednesday?
Yes.
He'll be back on Monday, won't he?
Yeah, we have
I'll be here.
We have our Kumbaya tour, like our street tour.
We're going to go look at all the roads that
Did
want
we
to get
determine
realigned.
a time on that?
5:30.
I know nothing of this.
Have you checked your email? It was a really long email that went through a whole bunch of stuff at once. Yeah, it's on Monday at 5:30. We're meeting here. We're doing a tour of the two road
I didn't see the
projects.
email either.
There's
So,
one,
I
there's
was
one
in
in Cross Hollow and one down by Eagle Ridge at South Mountain where they've applied to realign those master plan roads.
Okay. I'll look
That's
for
the one that we've talked about the few times in here. Basically every time we put Tim Watson off, saying we're going to do our
Oh,
field trip.
oh,
That's the field trip that we keep putting
Okay.
Tim off for.
I,
Well, one thing, could Landon, I mean, if he's got a 10-day period to review his contract, can't you review it in a day and get it back? He doesn't need to take the 10 days, right? I mean, can't we shorten some of those?
Those documents
Yeah.
are a little
They're
thick
pretty,
and you need to give guys a chance to read them.
they're pretty standard though. We've seen them quite a bit.
I would like to have Jeff at the meeting
Yeah,
where
With
Kit
Jeff
is
and
there
Kit
too,
and-
and see if they can come to some sort of an understanding that if he does make a commitment that they feel good that he would be able to fulfill that commitment or, whatever.
Yeah, I think this helps us bring together everybody that's important to this decision. Landon, we've all made the point for Landon to move forward and redeem himself, but I'm in full support of our staff as well and their judgments. And I think we need to have that dialogue. And so.
In these projects, that he's bringing up, we've got letters of completion, our warranty work, bonds released, things that protect the city from things. So like I said earlier, I mean, that's what confuses me. I really don't know what the issue is. And according to this list, in these 6 items, I'm just confused. Especially with
Well, let's take a week and get that settled and have a special action meeting next Wednesday.
Okay, so will you say that motion form?
I move that we table this until next week and make a special action item after Kit, the engineers, and Jeff have met with Landon on this topic.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks, Landon.
Okay, our next item is a closed session.
Motion to move into closed session.
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilman Adams.
Aye.
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 I keep waiting for Casper here. What's the fire doing, chief? Anybody know what the fire's doing?
Well, I think